This weekend we have UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Teixeira, booked for the third time, if I'm correct. I think it is. I think they both got COVID one time each. So hopefully we get to see this fight now. I know it's not a number one contender fight anymore. I guess it might be in the long run, but not in any time soon. But still, we need to see who is going to be the next guy at the light heavyweight division currently for whoever wins the fight we'll talk about after. But this matchup itself is a pretty interesting fight because you got Thiago Santos, who's super talented, like striker. He's got that capoeira style with these big spinning kicks, and he's got power in both hands. And then you got Glover Teixeira, who's more of a, I'd say, orthodox striker with he's got power as well, and he's fast. But he's not going to throw loads of spin and stuff at you and give you some weird looks. He's more standard and more, battle tested, I guess. So it'll be an interesting one. What are your thoughts on this fight?
It's a really good fight. I'm hoping we get to see it. I hope nothing, derails it. I think this is whoever wins this is very worthy of the next title shot. It looks like Adesanya's going to get it. But after that, I feel like the winner of this is right in line, right there. And I think it's going to be Santos. I think he's a legit, threat for the title. I think if he went in with Jan Blachowicz now, I'd fancy him to win it. I think he's that good. He's coming off a long layoff, after the I think he tore his ACL, didn't he, against Jones, or both ACLs. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes back, because he is, how old is he? 36 now. So that's a tough injury to come back. We've seen it before, but I expect him to look really good in this. I expect him to get a quick KO. Glover, I feel bad picking against him because I picked against him in Anthony Smith, and I picked him against him quite big in Anthony Smith, and he absolutely battered Smith. So he's not someone I'm told. At the same time, he's in his 40s. He's had a lot of battles. He's been knocked out a few times. Thiago Santos is a killer. It's just all adding up for me. Santos is the next in line, I think. But I'm sure Teixeira can prove us all wrong again, because he's on a 4-fight win streak.
Yeah, I mean, Santos, the injury he had in that Jones fight was his ACL, MCL, and meniscus all in the same knee. So they should be healed up. Let's hope. Let's hope he doesn't go out there and then fucking smash all three of them, break them all again in one kick or something, because that would be a shame. Then he's out for it. Even if he wins, he's out for another 8 months after that. So hopefully he's all right. But I do favor him as well in this matchup, and I think it's if you want to draw parallels to that Glover Smith fight. Smith came out there and put his hands on Teixeira and really dominated him in the first round and a half. And it looked like he was going to put him away at some points. But Teixeira was able to weather the storm, wait for Smith to gas himself out, and then just dominated the fight from there on. It wasn't even close. I don't think he can do that with Santos, because Santos isn't going to come out there with that high pace and volume. Santos is going to come out there with heavy hands, and he's going to set up his shots. And when he lands, that's it, He doesn't. I think he can probably last more than one round. I don't expect it to be a first round KO, but I do expect Santos to find a finish within the first 3. Or I think he could probably just take it to a decision. I think he can. He seems like he's shown that he can go 5 rounds. If you look at his fight with the champion Jan, the first time they fought, they were 3 rounds in. Both guys looked like they were conditioned to go. Obviously, Santos had a very different approach into that as he did his other fights, because in his other fights, he's been the one pushing the action. But against Jan, he was kind of waiting to counter off Jan, which actually forced Jan to start throwing, which led to Santos putting him out. I don't expect to see that from him in this fight against Teixeira. I think he's going to come forward, but I do expect him to find the finish somewhere around the 3rd round.
Yeah, it's a good fight, and Glover, for me, he surprised me to even be in this position at his age. And he, to be fair, before he started this streak, I thought he looked done. He looked on his way out, and he'd had a great career. So there's nothing to be ashamed of there. But he's had this amazing comeback, if you want to call it, and he's put 4 wins together. He lost Corey Anderson. Remember when he got knocked out by Gustafsson as well? They were big losses, and then he's managed to pull it back, and he's beat Smith, and now it's the next level though. Thiago Santos, for me, is a killer. He's championship level. I think he's got everything it takes to go and beat Blachowicz again. So it's a great fight. I expect Santos to win, but Teixeira is as game as it comes, so I'm not writing him off at all.
Yeah, neither. It'll be a fun fight to watch, and I'm very excited for it. And the co-main event, somewhat underwhelming, I would say, but it's not the worst fight. It's definitely a good fight in the heavyweight division, just not between ranked guys. And that's Andrei Arlovski versus Tanner Boser, which is a great step up in competition for Boser, and we'll definitely get to see what he's made of. I know Arlovski's on a bit of a slope. I think he's won his last couple of fights, or maybe his last fight. But before that, he's definitely a shell of what he used to be. But Tanner Boser is not this super heavy-handed striker. A lot of what he does is volume striking, and it'll be interesting to see if he can put that on Arlovski like a lot of people haven't been able to do. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, first thing first, I don't like this fight as a co-main event. I think there's a high risk that this fight's going to be really boring. Like Arlovski, either at the minute he tends to get knocked out inside a couple minutes, or he goes to a really quite boring decision. And I don't see both. It's the same thing as Hall and Silva. You've just got to go and steam Arlovski. I know he's a legend and things like that, but at this point, you can't respect him in that manner. You've just got to run at him, try and take his head off, and I hope that's what Boser does and goes and secures his third knockout in a row, because otherwise we're gonna get this horrible point fight and a heavyweight, and it's gonna go to a weird split decision, and it does nothing for Tanner Boser, who is starting to establish himself as a potential contender. He needs to go out, make a statement, wipe Arlovski out, and I'm gonna pick him to do that because he's on a nice run. He's got a lot of momentum behind him. I'm gonna pick him to keep going because I don't want to be sitting up at 3-4 in the morning watching these 2-point fights. So I'm just hoping for that right now. But Arlovski, I'm saying what I'm saying, but he's still game. I'm sure he's in his 40s now, still picking up wins against young contenders. So he's doing it right. It's just not fun to watch, and it's more fun for me to see him get beat, which is quite bad to say, but it is.
I hope for your sake one of these guys finds a finish early. But, we'll jump on to the next fight before this one, which is middleweight bout, which probably, in my opinion, makes more sense to be the co-main because ranked guy, But look at this. I don't understand how the UFC book their cards. You got a women's strawweight fight between 4 and 8. That's the opening fight on the main card. And then you've got that heavyweight bout. But we're not going to get into that. We've got Ian Heinisch versus Brendan Allen. Both great, talented middleweight fighters. Ian Heinisch had that slip up. Who did he lose to? I'm blanking on this. Who was his last loss?
He lost to Akhmedov.
That was it, Akhmedov.
And Brunson.
And then you've got Brendan Allen, who is coming off a win from memory against that debutant guy that was a grappler. I can't remember his name.
Dorcas.
That was it, Kyle Dorcas. Was it Kyle Dorcas?
Yeah.
And so this is a good fight for both guys. I like to see who wins this fight because it definitely, I think Heinisch is 15, so it'll determine like where the bar is to be in the top rankings of the division. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I really like it. I think we were speaking about exciting grappling matches before with Mitchell and Feely, and Allen was in an exciting grappling match with Dorcas last time. It was a really fun fight. Heinisch is coming off a big win over Meerschaert, so it's a really good fight between two people who, as I was saying earlier, you'd expect some of these guys to be making noise in 2021. I think Brendan Allen's going to get the win. I really like him. I think he's a potential contender. He's picked up a few good wins now. Tom Breeze, who I rate highly, Kevin Holland, who I rate highly. Dorcas looked great in his debut, and I think a few people fancied him in that debut as well. So really good fighter. He's starting to string it together. Ian Heinisch is probably would be the biggest name on his record, and it's up for him to go and get it. 24 years old though. He's got the world at his feet right now, and this is the toughest test. And Heinisch is, his job. He knows what his job is. He's got to knock this kid back down and back into place, and carry his trajectory up the rankings. Yeah,
I do favour Allen in this one as well. I did forget about that Meerschaert fight for Heinisch, but outside of that, he didn't look that great against Mario Akhmedov, and obviously the Brunson fight before that. I just think Allen's got more traction at the moment. I think I do favour him in this matchup. But yeah, should be a good fight. I think that's one of the better fights on this card. Before that, we do have the women's strawweight bout that I spoke about earlier with Claudia Gadelha versus Yan Xiaonan. That's Yan is going to be the name I say. But these are two ranked women's strawweights, and this is like for Gadelha. For Claudia, this is like an important fight for her because she's ranked number 4. I'm pretty sure she's coming off a win. I just can't recall who it was over. So another win on top of this, and she'll be ranked in the top 2 or 3 in the division. You got to imagine, right next to that title shot.
Yeah, it's a really it's a pivotal fight. I don't think any of these are going to get a title shot off the back of this, but it establishes. I think whoever wins this is probably one fight away. They've both got wins over Angela Hill. That's the name you were missing then. Just who Gadea beat, and I know there was a bit of controversy, but I think she won that fight. So I think this has been cancelled before, rebooked. It's going to be a fun fight. I think it's going to go 3 rounds. I don't see anyone getting the finish. They're going to go back and forth. It's going to be high paced. I'll pick Gadea just because she's been a contender for longer. I've seen her pick up significant wins over people who I think are better than Jan. So I expect her to emerge victorious. She's got a win over Carlos Esparza. I rate Carlos Esparza as, pretty much the highest level of gatekeeper you can get in that division. If you beat her, you're onto a good thing. So I expect Gadea to win this one.
That's right. I did a little bit of looking, Googling there, and Jan's last fight was at UFC in New Zealand against Carolina Kowalkiewicz, and she smashed her face in. You remember that one? That was a bad one. That was a bad knockout. Actually, it wasn't a knockout, was it? She fought with that. That's right. But it was a pretty impressive punch that she landed. I think it was a punch. It might have been a kick. But that's the last time I remember seeing her fight. And obviously, I do think Gadea is probably the better fighter here, and she's faced the harder competition. So I do favour her in this, and I think she'll go on from this to be one fight away from title shot. But the problem at strawweight is that, we know who's fighting for the title next time. It's going to be Rose. So they still got to wait for that fight to happen, and then after that, who knows? She's going to have a couple more fights before she gets her shot at the title. But, this is a pivotal fight in her career, and hopefully she does well in it. What have we got?